How can you sleep better? Well, this is something that we've actually been hearing quite a lot, I suppose, maybe over the last 15 years or so. There's been lots of research about this, and we hear lots of different ways that we can do it, and yet we still seem to struggle with sleep. So, what's that all about? I don't know. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about some important things about sleep that may or may not help you along the way. So, welcome to today's episode of Super Aging, which obviously is focused on sleep. I'm Marianne from One Life to Flourish. I'm a qualified master coach specializing in wellness and mindset, and I'm also an intuitive energetic healer. Now, in my business, I support women at midlife and beyond to create a life that is fulfilling, passionate, and purposeful. So, sleep. I have to say, this is a topic that does interest me quite a lot. This is because I have struggled with getting a good night's sleep for a big part of my life. So I've spent a lot of time reading about it, listening to stuff about it, and trying to put stuff into practice. So I don't know that I've still nailed it entirely, but I've certainly gotten better. So probably the worst lot of sleep that I ever had was when I was in my mid-30s, when I seemed to struggle to get more than about 4 hours sleep a night. Now, this was choices that I made, but still, it's interesting. So now, because sleep is an interesting topic for me, I do, talk about it, post stuff about it fairly regularly, and people respond to some of the things that I'm saying. So usually there are two different kinds of responses I get, and that's from people saying, "Oh no, I have no problem whatsoever with my sleep, all is good." I go, "Oh, you lucky things." Then, of course, we get others that find getting a good night's sleep is like a brick wall. They just can't seem to get through and do it. Now, the way that they talk about their sleep is all quite different, though, and this is what we'll kind of tackle as we go through. So some of them might talk about struggling to drop off to sleep, but they still end up achieving, around 7.5 hours of sleep each night, which, let's face it, is pretty good. Others might be able to drop off to sleep like straight away kind of thing, but they'll wake up, in the early hours of the morning and then toss and turn and, just wake up feeling groggy and like they haven't slept much at all. And the amount of sleep that they've had does vary. There are some people, and this is where I fall into the category, who actually have trouble getting to sleep and then have trouble staying asleep once they've got there. And of course, the other interesting thing is, we've now got smart watches and, wrist devices that we can wear when we go to sleep that actually track our quality of sleep. So this is where some people get the data that tells them that they're not getting good enough sleep. Now, lots of differences in there, and there's more than what I've mentioned. These are probably the main ones that I hear from, but obviously other people experience different kinds of things. So why is everyone's experience of sleep a little bit different? This is an interesting question. So, why do some people think that they're not getting enough sleep when they're getting 7.5 hours of sleep? Is it to do with the quality of the sleep? Okay, or do they just feel like they need more sleep? And then there are other people who tell you, "Oh, no, I only need 5 hours sleep." Do they really need five hours sleep to function well? So this is where it's kind of interesting. Everyone's experience is different. And of course, we're all different. So this is part of what's actually going on. So we are all different, and we have our own internal clocks, like our biorhythm, that guides how we go about our entire 24 hours with our energy slumps and rises and those kinds of things. Now, some people will actually have a similar clock to someone else's, and some will have ones that are a little bit different because they're not entirely the same how they get set up. Now, the clock, that internal clock, actually determines the time at which different hormones and chemicals are released in the body that actually get us up and moving, or slow us down, get us relaxed, make us drowsy, do other things to prepare us for sleep. And it kind of goes through a cycle through the day. So it's not just like, wake up, get energy, now it's time to go to sleep. It actually goes through some cycles that are more like waves. So when we actually live in tune with this natural rhythm, we're actually able to get the correct amount of sleep for us. Now, this is something that can also vary quite a bit as well, how much sleep you do need. Now, I'm not saying that you need less than, like the 7 to 9 hours or whatever that are recommended, but the amount that people need does vary. So, what actually affects this rhythm? What actually stops us from being able to tune into this and actually, just sleep right, eat right, exercise right, all of those kinds of things? Well, the fact is it's something that we really can't do a lot about unless we're consciously aware of it and we work towards managing it. So the main culprit are things like our lights. So this is not only the lights in our house, but the lights that are all around us outside. So artificial light, and of course, different kinds of electronic devices essentially have an impact on this rhythm. Now, the biggest issue actually lies with our exposure to blue light, but it can be any kind of really bright light that is outside, I suppose, of the normal range of light that we get from the sun. And if you think about it, we've been having those things happen for 150 years or more. So we've been gradually being more and more impacted, and our biorhythms have been more and more impacted over the years. And, we're not going to give that stuff up, are we? We're not going to go back to the dark ages, let's face it. But we can try and come up with ways to actually manage what's happening and make sure that we lessen the impact of these things. So it's unrealistic to think that, we're going to go way back in time. So let's kind of be strategic about what we do. So the first thing really does come back to the devices that emit blue light. Now, these are your phones, your computers, your tablets, even a lot of smart TVs and that kind of thing. Other TVs emit other light as well that has an impact, but blue light seems to be particularly a problem with actually mixing up our biorhythm, because that leads our natural body clock to think that daylight is not ending when it's ending. All right, so that's a pretty critical kind of thing. Our biorhythm is set on understanding when the sun's rising and when the sun's setting, essentially. So we need to kind of guide it back to understanding some of that so we can get a reasonable night's sleep. So any devices that emit blue light, the best thing to do is to actually, about 2 hours before you plan on falling asleep, is to actually turn them off. There are things that you can do with, like phones and laptops and tablets and that kind of thing, where you can actually basically reduce the blue light or remove the blue light. It can make your devices look a bit weird, but you can do that, which is also a great thing as it gets into nighttime. So that's useful, but actually turning your device off a couple of hours before you go to sleep is probably better than any of that. So anything turned off, that's good. Next thing, you want to try and just sort of reduce how much bright light you're having in that hour or so before you go to sleep. So try and have some gentle light rather than the really bright light. Sounds okay. All right, so it's potentially possible to do that. I actually now do that. It took me a while to get used to it. And sometimes if I am really busy with stuff, I don't quite make it, and then I feel the impact. But if you can generally do that, then you can have a reset biorhythm that works quite well. So the other thing that's really important to do to actually make sure that your biorhythm is set so that you can go through those natural cycles of, high energy, low energy, getting ready for sleep, is to actually make sure that you get some direct early morning sunlight when you first get up. So this is telling your body that the sun is now up and it's time to kind of kick in all of those, things that bring our energy up, ready to face the day. Now, of course, in winter, depending on what time you get up, you might get up when it's dark. So try and make sure that immediately when you get up, you're actually exposing yourself to some really bright artificial light. So best to have some natural light, but if not, go for the other. And then as soon as you can, so as soon as there is some morning light, then go and get some of that soaking into you. All right, it doesn't have to be very long. Oh, hi, Ross. Yes, good to see that you've made for some of it. So make sure that you're getting direct sunlight on you, no sunscreen, no sunglasses, anything like that. And it doesn't have to be for very long. 10, 15 minutes is all you need at the start of the day. And it just really helps to set up what your natural rhythm should be. So that's the first part to go to. So start to think about how you can turn stuff off so that you can be ready to sleep and getting some of that natural sunlight. All right, let's talk a little bit about sleep routines. So to ensure that we get the best quality sleep, we really need to get some consistency happening into our routine in the evening as we get ready to go to bed. So you can't kind of go, and then, time for bed, and expect that your body is going to be ready. So it needs to have a bit of a wind down time before you go to bed. And it can be a gradual process. Well, vitamin D does come into it. Now, I have decided to continue on talking a little bit about sleep because it is such an important part. So I'll just put this up so that people watching the replay or whatever can see this. So Roz has just made a comment around natural vitamin D. So vitamin D is really important for all hormonal processes in the body. And this is why it's really important to get some daylight, and the best to avoid any other issues with skin cancers and so on is early morning. This is a slightly different thing that I'm talking about. This is where you try and get very early morning sunlight on your skin so that your biorhythm processes know that it's morning and it's now time to go through and set off the morning routines or the day routines. So it's kind of about giving your body clock its on and off switch for, sleep and energy kind of thing. But we will talk a little bit more about vitamin D and some other things that are useful in helping us sleep as well. So that is part of it. All right, let's get back to our consistent sleep routines. So usually winding down should take place over a few hours. So remember, you're turning off your devices, hopefully a couple of hours before you're going to go to sleep. And then go through some things that start to help you to wind down. This will be different for everyone. Probably a couple of things to note with this as well. As part of the winding down, you need to make sure that you're not doing anything that's really physically demanding a couple of hours before you're planning to sleep. And it's also not a good idea to be doing too much eating or drinking things that might interfere with your body's ability to relax and sleep. So I'm talking particularly like alcohol, coffee, that kind of thing. There are some things that you can do, but definitely don't have like a heavy meal, like an hour or so before you're going to go to sleep. So kind of planning that stuff out. So about an hour before you're actually wanting to go to sleep, really get into some things that are going to make you feel very relaxed and start to, just chill out. So it could be just listening to some music that you find soothing. It might be reading. Okay, it could be, I don't know, doing drawing or coloring. So basically anything that will start to bring down any feelings of high energy and restlessness. So you want to really kind of relax into it. So meditation is also a good thing. If I'm finding that I'm thinking too much and I can't switch off, I find that meditation is a great one. Or it could be some deep breathing. It could even be, some kinds of yoga, qigong, those kinds of things that just really calm your nervous system down. So basically that's going to get you into the situation where you are ready to fall asleep. You've calmed your body down. Now, let's talk about your bedroom. So your bedroom is really important for ensuring that you can sleep well. I'm not going to talk about mattresses and pillows and that sort of thing in this particular episode, but I will come to that. But let's just talk about your bedroom as, the place that you're going to sleep. So it needs to be quite dark, fairly cool, and quiet. So, not always easy to do. Yes, I would agree, Roz. Tai Chi and Qigong. I actually have a bit of a Qigong routine that I use as another thing that I will sometimes do just to feel like I'm winding down, particularly if I've had a busy evening and then I know I need to get myself ready. A lazy path, yes. Lazy is good. Don't have to do that. I find that just reading something that is just entertainment is great for me, but I'm a reader, so. All right, so bedroom space. I'm not sure I get what you mean by that. Roz, sorry. So tone and voice. Okay, yep. So, yes, as I said, I read a lot about sleep, and I know in one book that I read, I can't remember who wrote it, the comment was that your bedroom should only be for two things. Number one is sleep, and number two is sex. So just kind of think about what's happening there, but make sure that your bedroom feels like a safe place to sleep, that it's comfortable, that it's not, messy and crazy and it's got stuff in there that's going to act like a stimulant, I suppose. Having said that, it's probably time for me to do a bit of a bedroom clean out now I'm talking about it. But your focus in your bedroom needs to be about sleep. All right, so I think I have actually talked for longer than I had intended to, which is why I've decided to continue on next week. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some more specific things you can put into your routines and a little bit about what actually happens with our biorhythms, which is quite interesting. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Yes, true, Roz. We can enjoy sex in many other places. All right, so if you are a fellow sufferer of lack of sleep, I do have a short hypnotherapy program that I've called Sleep Soundly. That is really amazingly helpful for people who have it. So everyone who's gone through the program have actually found it's been a game changer for them for their sleep. So if you are a sufferer, do not suffer any longer. All right, we can deal with that. And, I can give you some tools that will actually help you long term. So if you think that you need some help, just write sleep in the comments, or you can DM me and I will send you some details. All right, so please join me next week when I'm going to talk a little bit more about the different kinds of sleepers that we might be, food, routines, and a few other things. All right, so whatever I can fit into the time that I have. So I hope you have a great week. I hope you sleep well this week and start to think about what your routines can be. So Bye for now.